The new Arrowhead CEO has spoken on the balance uproar. Let's break this down in the video, guys, because as you guys know, flame weapons have been absolutely devastated in the game, and it's causing a big issue because it's not just the flame weapons, it's the way Arrowhead are taking away fun from the game. When this is just a PvE game, we want the power fantasy of mowing down hordes of enemies with super powerful weapons. They shouldn't be balancing it like a PvP game going, oh, well, this weapon's a bit too good, it's a bit too effective, so let's nerf it down and then maybe the other weapons get used. No, the reason why that weapon was getting used is because it was better, it was stronger, so make the other weapons better and stronger and players will use them. There's a load of analogies flying around all over the internet, but you can just kind of make them up. Like I can say, look, I like road biking, right? And I also like mountain biking. In fact, I just like biking in general. If you were to say, okay, let's have a look at your Strava from this week. Ah, well, you've done a lot of mountain bike riding this week. So what we're going to do is take away your mountain bike because, well, you shouldn't be on that. And I'm like, hang on, I'm on the mountain bike because it's fun. Now I'm forced to go and ride the road bike. You know what I mean? It don't make no sense. That's what Arrowhead, it seems like they're doing with the balance. They're taking away when things get popular. That's wrong. They should go, why is it popular? Let's apply that philosophy to the other weapons and make them popular. It just seems insane. Anyway, this is criminal. This is actually criminal. So on the left-hand side, there's a screenshot here of the old flamethrower, the way it used to fire out a projectile stream of fluid, basically, of fuel, and then ignite it, and it looked like a flamethrower. The new one just has got like flame textures that come out of it. This is very baffling because the old one looked insanely better. So they nerfed the way flame weapons work, and then they nerfed the visuals. Now, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe this is something to do with performance. But if it's not, we need to revert this, guys, because this is a friggin' idiotic change. I mean, what the hell? So this is the article over on PC Gamer. Now, this is taken from a bunch of comments that the CEO Shams has made on Discord. And he says this, or rather the article says this. Arrowhead boss says he's not upset by the latest Helldivers 2 balance uproar. I take this any day of the week over nobody giving a shit. Now, what he means by this is people are still engaged with the game, right? Less people are engaged than they used to be with the game, don't get me wrong. But people are still engaged enough to make YouTube videos, to post on Reddit, to post on Twitter, and do all of that stuff, make TikToks, whatever, and discuss this online. That's good, because you don't want apathy to set in, because the moment people don't care, well, they don't care, and it's very hard to win those players back. You see, what Arrowhead need to be doing is looking at the game going, okay, we've had a massive spike of players. In fact, let me bring up SteamDB. Look at that. We have we've got 38,000 players at the moment. That's nowhere near the peak, which was 458,000. But you look at that and think, okay, well, actually, there's a ton of players there. There's like 410,000, 20,000 players that we should be able to entice and delight back to the game. How do we do that? Well, we've got to give them power. We've got to give them good enemies to fight, new objectives, new maps, new weapons, new stratagems, things that are fun. Not take away. Not go, oh, we need to balance this because of some obscure reason, or I don't like the way this is interacting, let's take it down. Too many people are using the incendiary breaker, let's nerf it. And by the way, people are still using the incendiary breaker. You guys are seeing footage in the background here of me playing on a difficulty 10 mission. Definitely using the incendiary breaker because it's faster. You can get more shots down range than you can with any of the other shotguns, so it's just more effective, even though it's got less magazines. But, you know, it's just like, why curtail my fun there? I'd still have fun, or I'd have more fun if I had more ammo, but you've taken it away from me. Why? It's insane. Also, by the way, if you are playing on 10, make sure at least somebody takes the spear because you need it to thin out the numbers of Bile Titans or like heavier enemies like the Behemoths and things like that, because you'll just get swamped. If nobody's got the spear, then I'm worried. That's why I've got the spear, because nobody had it in this mission. But anyway, yeah, you look at these numbers, and what Arrowhead are trying to do is get these players back. You want them back, right? You know there is a ton of players that own the game that can come back and play the game, but you've got to make them want to play the game. And time again, they're failing to hit this. They're updating the game. Hey, look, Escalation of Freedom. We've got a nice slick video. We've got a new enemy, the Impaler, for the bugs. I think really fun. The new souped up Hive Commander, Brew Commander thing, whatever the hell it's called. Again, it's souped up. It's really good. I like fighting against that. The bot enemies are okay. The missile tank is like whatever. It's kind of, it doesn't really do anything, the missile tank. The Scout Strider is annoying, but you can kill it if you shoot the rockets on the side. So it's actually easier to deal with than the normal one, although it will kill you from across the map, which again is annoying. And the Impaler, actually, I can't just say it's all roses. It knocks you around way too much, and it's super frustrating. Like, if it's just on one of, like, just on you and there's nobody else around you, yeah, there could be a problem. But I guess you could argue your team should be helping you. But anyway, the point is, there are a lot of players they need to entice back, and they're failing to do it. And why are they failing to do it? Because they're not making fun updates to the game. Yeah, they're making good technical updates. The performance is great at the moment, but they're not actually making updates that players care about. I mean, I can use a very loose example here when I look at a game like Overwatch and say, what do players care about in Overwatch? New hero, new map, new game mode. I mean, what would you rank them, even if you don't play the game? Well, new hero people really care about. New map, not really as much. New game mode, probably a bit more. But the new hero, well, not catastrophically, but astronomically, I should say, higher interest. And Helldivers 2, how does that translate to that? Well, it's weapons. We need new weapons. We need new stratagems. Things like the anti-tank mines are shit. No one wants them. We want, like, why are we not dropping nukes from orbit? They just need to keep escalating the firepower, and I think people would be happy. Anyway, let's come off this. But I guess the last thing to sort of say with the Steam charts, although I know I've taken it off the screen, is there is 38,566 players right now, and there was a peak of 54,000. This is declining quite rapidly now from, and basically going back to the levels of where it'll probably hit a peak of like 30,000, 32,000 daily now, which I think has been a bit of a miss by Arrowhead, because they had momentum and they would have kept that momentum and built on that momentum if there was the power fantasy in the game, which there just isn't at the moment. So let's break down what Shams has said. I take this any day of the week over nobody giving a shit, Shams said recently while chatting with fans on the Helldivers Discord. And to be clear, I have no problem with what's happening now. We want people to tell us what they like and not, which is good, right? They do need that. And I touched on this in a video yesterday where I get the impression, like, I don't want to sound like I'm being an absolute knobhead to these developers, but I get the impression that when a dev studio builds a game and the game does very, very well, they become a bit like, it's almost like a god complex, right? It's like, we know best and we're just going to tell you the way things should be, and you're just going to take it because we know best, because look at all this hundreds of millions of dollars we've made, so shut your mouth and you'll take it. I get that kind of feeling with Arrowhead sometimes, and it's a feeling I definitely had with Blizzard over the years. As you guys know, I covered Overwatch and still do. I made thousands of videos on that game, and it's like, you could tell it was like, no, we know best. When problems would persist for a long time, eventually get sorted and the game would be better for it. Way too many examples for me to list off. I mean, I'm not going to go into it. This is a Helldivers video. I don't want to talk about Overwatch, but, you know, you get what I'm saying, guys. So this is, yeah, they do need to be told. They are listening to feedback. It comes down to how they collect and collate the feedback and how they digest it, because you can get all the feedback in the world. If you don't do anything with it, then it doesn't really matter anyway. But talking about feedback, look at this. So this was the poll, which I said yesterday was bloody useless. I mean, this is I mean, what quality information are you getting from this? But it's now almost finished. There's 2 days left. But if you look at this, how do you feel about the Escalation of Freedom update as a whole? It's good, 27%. It's bad, 33%. I'm not sure, it's 40%. I would read that as those people are starting to become quite apathetic to the game. They don't care. They're like, I don't really know what is this update. The missions still feel the same to me. Yeah, I don't really see much of a change, and that's a problem. The article then goes on to say, a quote from Shams, what's happening now, as Shams puts it, is a pretty fierce blowback to flamethrower nerfs that drastically reduced its effectiveness against chargers. As PC gamer diver Morgan Park noted yesterday, the pre-nerf flamethrower was a prime choice as a support weapon because its power justified the risk of burning yourself and your teammates. In the midst of combat, that's no longer the case, and has led to an uproar on Reddit and Discord and, as usual, a fresh influx of negative user reviews on Steam, more than 2,500 of them over the past 3 days. So we all know, like, the situation with the Flamer. It was very short range. The flamethrower, you could kill charges reliably by attacking them from any direction. Take you, maybe 10 seconds of fire and you could kill them. But the trade-off is, yeah, you're close range. You're probably getting swamped with enemies. But the flamethrower was actually quite good at dealing with large groups of enemies close to you because you could spray it around. And you could get quite good with it. I think I got quite good with the flamethrower, and I loved taking it against the bugs because I knew I could kill the charges. Obviously, you can't do anything to a bile titan. You can attack it, but it doesn't really do too much damage. But you're killing the charges, right? You're killing the chaff enemies. You're kind of keeping your team safe. And there was a negative side to it, which is, yeah, people, you could kill your allies, which obviously would be a problem. But you can kill your allies with anything in the game. But it felt fun, that's the thing. It felt awesome, sitting there, living out that Ripley fantasy from Aliens, burning the nest. You can't do that anymore. And I don't know why Arrowhead ever thought that would be a good thing to do. But yeah. But while some players are obviously not happy, the vast majority of them aren't becoming abusive, which is why Giorgiani is willing to wade into the conversation. People are super vocal right now, but I'm perfectly fine with it, he wrote. People are super civil and making excellent points on multiple topics. And this is the thing, right? Feedback. You do obviously get vocal minorities that are shouting from the rooftops and can be quite aggressive. Oh, the devs are shit. They don't know what they're doing. I've seen like people altering the name of Arrowhead, so like Arrow Fail and stuff like that being thrown all over the place. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's not really feedback. It's not really telling them why you're not enjoying what they've done to the game. And I look at this and I think, right, this update, the performance is incredible, right? Honestly, the game, the performance is awesome. Like, I'm playing this game, I'm getting no frame drops, I'm getting, you know, maybe it's just my system or whatever. But I used to get a ton before, so they've definitely done something to make it fluid and feel better. Hopefully that isn't destroying particle effects, because that then affected the flamethrower visual. I hope that's not the case, Arrowhead. But anyway, I'll let you off maybe if that's the case, but then maybe I won't. So it feels good, right? The new enemies, they feel okay to fight against. The new map is just a nighttime version of, well, the swamp map anyway, so it's not really too different. The new objectives are not really too different. The new bases are not really too different. Doesn't feel like a very substantial update. And I think that's the issue players have got. You come back, you play it, and you think, well, there's not much changed here. Yeah, there's a new difficulty mode. Yeah, it is quite a bit harder than difficulty 9 because you get a ton of, like, you know, the harder enemies spawning. But how long is this going to keep me interested realistically? Will I be playing this next week? I don't know, probably not. Jajani said that balancing Helldivers 2 to ensure it's fun isn't as easy as it sounds, because fun is subjective to different people. He also said Arrowhead needs to do a better job of catering to different playstyles and of communicating its intent to players, something he said developers will start to do via regular streams, more blogs and vlogs in the not so distant future. So the final point there, I think, yeah, that's great. More comms is great. The more the devs talk to the community, the more you can see what they're trying to do. If they explain what their balance philosophy is, if they went into a lot of detail as to why they made changes, then you could look at them and then, you know, you can make your own opinions based on that. When there's just a change thrown out there into the ether, like, yeah, the flame weapons are changed and there's no explanation, you're like, well, why? You know, this has made the game feel a lot worse. What kind of dev sat down and tested this and gone, yeah, this is fine, let's roll with it? It doesn't make any sense. However, the other part of this is quite interesting, because when he says fun isn't as easy as it sounds, because fun is subjective to different people, and Arrowhead needs to do a better job of catering to different playstyles, well, I think all of us will agree the fun in Helldivers 2 is massacring hordes of enemies. It's a cooperative horde shooter. It is that, when you guys first played the game, I remember my first reaction when I dropped in the airstrike, the Eagle airstrike. I was like, holy shit, this is insane. The way it came in at an angle, because the, you know, Eagle 1 comes in and it drops it in, and it felt a little bit realistic, which I'm not going to go into the realism discussion around this game. It's not realistic. When they talk about things being realistic, it's stupid. They should not be making things it's literally a fantasy, futuristic space game. We don't care. We just want things to feel fun. Anyway, it felt awesome, right? And you're like, holy shit, the visuals look insane. This is incredible. Tons of enemies running towards you. You're mowing them down. You're getting that Starship Trooper fantasy against the bugs. You're getting that Terminator 2 sort of fantasy against the bots. It's like, this is great. This is actually incredible. It was the spectacle of it. It was the feeling of it. It was using the weapons. Didn't matter if some of the weapons were not too great, because we were still early days. Everyone's using a bunch of stuff. But of course, people work the meta out. They work out what weapons are more effective, and then they start using them. And then you start looking at other weapons going, why do they exist? There's no reason to use them. Why would you use the Liberator Penetrator when the Adjudicator exists? It's just better in every single way. Like, what? There is literally no reason to use that. Now, Arrowhead are trying to do sort of side grades to the weapon, give you a different option, but I think they've totally failed at that anyway. Now, in terms of when he says fun isn't as easy as it sounds because fun is subjective to different people, the point I'm making is the fun in Helldivers 2 is very one-dimensional. It is, we want powerful weapons to destroy hordes of enemies, and we want to feel like a badass doing it. We want powerful stratagems as well. That's all we want. Also, when things get ridiculously powerful and you start getting crazy team kills and things like that, it adds to the fun of the game, right? So more power fantasy, that's what players want. I don't think, I mean, no one is, like, how many players out there are going, you know what, I'm going to play Helldivers 2 solo, stealth, and try and do all the objectives? Yeah, there's a bunch of YouTubers that have done it. Yeah, there's probably people who've done it. But I think out of the millions of players, most people want to stand there and fight massive waves of enemies. And that gets into the whole debate of, actually, the best way to play the game is to not fight hordes of enemies. It's to just keep moving, especially on the harder difficulties. If you stand there and keep fighting them, they'll keep spawning, you'll run out of ammo, and then you'll die. And you'll run out of stratagems, and then you'll die. Which I think probably does need to be addressed, but that's for a different debate altogether. So yeah, this comment, a bit weird, because I think it is quite easy to see where the fun in Helldivers 2 comes from. At the end of the day, it's not one wizard behind the scenes pulling all the strings. Different people, different teams. Sometimes things lean one way, another time a different way, he wrote. Our intention is obviously that every patch moves the needle more in the right direction. This patch has tons of other improvements that did. That's not being discussed so much because the nerfs are overshadowing it. But that doesn't mean we're not doing work in good faith or that we'll stop, but that we're human and sometimes we flounder. So, you know, like I said, the thing is here, guys, yeah, the patch itself, the update, I mean, like packaging this as Escalation of Freedom makes it sound like a mini expansion, right? And all we got is a couple of new enemies, different daytime, well, a nighttime version of the swamp map, and a couple of little different objectives and different bases, right? Yeah, it's fine. But then they had to go and sort of ruin that by nerfing weapons, which obviously players are going to straight up find about. You know, they're going to work that out really quickly. It's going to become the main topic of discussion because, again, it's a PvE game. Nerfing them doesn't make any sense, yada, yada, yada. Or it doesn't feel great. That's the thing. It's taking away toys, and we want toys. This is literally a toy sandbox with stupidly overpowered weapons that just destroy hordes of enemies, right? That's what we want. So when they come to the decision of like, oh, let's nerf the game in the ways they have, it actually doesn't make any sense. But this update, I think, has got some wider issues which are starting to sort of show their head, rear their ugly head in a way now, where it's not substantial enough. I think there are some good groundwork which has been put in place here. The slick dev videos, the way they announced this, the way it did bring a bump back to the player base. The question will be, what's their next update? We all know at some point the Illuminate is going to drop. And when that drops, I'm sure that'll be a massive update. It's an entire new faction, right? So people are going to want to go and fight the Illuminate, unless for some reason they're super annoying to fight against. But people are still going to want to fight them and see what that's all about. But I do think that, yeah, the advertising for this is fine. But for Escalation of Freedom, it isn't too much content. It's a bit light on content. And I think come next week, probably player numbers are going to get back down to where they were before. And that is exacerbated by the fact that the weapon strength has been reduced as well from fan favorite weapons, instead of buffing other weapons to make them as effective. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Remember my name is Stylosa. Don't remember that. You can follow me on @Stylosa, which is everything. And I'll put a link in the video description below to, I've got a custom Helldivers 2 mouse mat, which looks insane. Click the link and go and check that out, and you can pick yourself up if you want. It does support me in the channel. It's also limited run, so once they're sold, they're sold. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon.